I get inspired by lots of different things, life itself. What I really enjoy is creating images that can change people's minds, that can tell a story that somebody can pick up really quickly. Describe my style. See, style is such a hard thing to put your finger on because for a long time you really don't have a style. The style you have is what other people are telling you that they're seeing in the images. It's sort of like branding. It's not who you think you are, it's who people perceive you to be. My style when I'm shooting, if I'm shooting for myself, I'm looking for that moment where something interesting is happening, something is changing the image, something is hinting at a further story. So there's something that happened before the photograph and there's something that happened after the photograph, and it's up to the audience to bring it to it. When I'm photographing for clients, it's sort of the same thing. I want to create a world for them. I want to create a sense of something happening, a version of reality. Sort of the story about how I got involved in photography is I had done art all through high school. It was fairly easy for me to do art and kind of get a wow factor going with people. So I went to art school figuring, this was going to be the easy way to do stuff and going to be fun and I could be creative. Partway through my first year or second year at art school, I took a photography class and fell in love with it. Not because there was anything magical about photography necessarily, except for working in the darkroom where you put the paper in and all of a sudden the image blossoms in front of you, and that's great fun. And something that people don't see anymore because they're always doing digital, so that you don't get that magic happening right in front of you necessarily. But the magic for me was also, I have an idea in my head. I go and gather a bunch of props or people or whatever I need to do, set them up, put the lights in the right spot. I love the control that I can have in terms of controlling every little bit of the set, where the light is, who's in it. Throughout the time I was out at the school, I kept kind of asking people, so how do I, how does an artist make a living? How do you eat doing this kind of stuff? I'm struggling to put together supplies and paying the bar tab and things like that. And how do you do this? And no one ever had an answer for me. I love doing it. One of the challenges right now, I think, is that there is so much information coming so fast these days to so many people and from so many people. It's very difficult to pick out, for better or worse, it's very difficult to pick out who is influencing you. Just learning a technique isn't enough. Knowing why to use that technique and where to use that technique and what that technique is good for is so much more than just having a technique. When I first started out, I was sucking up techniques right and left, but my pictures were crap because there was no reason to use a really complicated technique. But when something comes along where you have a reason to do it and pull that tool out of the toolbox, that's when that technique works. And that's why with so many different influences coming out and hitting you all at once, it's very difficult to kind of keep track of things. You end up being just sort of a generalist, not really good at anything, but competent. I think there's a lot of competent people out there. But in this day and age, if you're trying to hire someone for marketing, you don't necessarily want someone who's just competent. You want somebody who's going to be bringing something to the table. And that's something I struggle with, is making sure that I'm bringing something to the table. Sweet Blast. Oh God, it's always the next image that is going to be my favorite. I still distinctly remember creating Cherry Bomb, even though that was 5 years ago, and that was an example of me creating something that was in my head for my purposes, and I had a blast doing it, and the technical aspects of actually creating the set and creating the piece was a lot of fun. But this past year we did Honeydew, which was the one with the honeycomb dripping down and the bees flying by, and that was the first time we'd done a Sweet Blast image out on location with the bees literally coming from the hives, passing us to go out to the fields, and you can hear them zipping past you. And that was a very exciting and challenging shoot. My name is McKee. I create photographs for a living. I create photographic art for a living. I work in marketing. I create photographic stories for people who are upset that their mother was proved right, that they never get a second chance to make a first impression. And first impressions happen online all the time now.